Dad goes past boys who mock son daily. Then he decided to take matter in own hands. Peter had always been proud of his son Jack. He was a sweet and thoughtful boy who cared deeply about others. However, Peter's heart sank every time he saw his son come home from school in tears. Jack was being bullied by a group of boys, and the situation seemed to be getting worse every day. The bullies would taunt Jack, calling him names and making fun of his clothes. They would push him around and steal his belongings. Jack tried to ignore them, but it was getting harder and harder. He would come home crying, feeling helpless and alone. Peter tried to comfort his son, telling him that the bullies were just jealous and that he shouldn't pay attention to them, but Jack couldn't help feeling hurt and scared. Peter knew he had to do something about it. One day Peter was driving to work when he saw the group of boys mocking Jack again. He could feel the anger rising inside him, and he knew he had to act. He pulled over his car and got out, walking towards the group of boys. The boys stopped laughing and looked at him with surprise. Peter was a tall and muscular man, and he looked determined. He asked the boys to explain what was going on and why they were picking on his son. The boys hesitated at first, but then they started laughing and making fun of him too. Peter didn't back down. He stood his ground, telling the boys that their behavior was unacceptable and that he wouldn't tolerate it any longer. The boys continued to taunt him, but Peter didn't lose his cool. He knew he had to be strong for his son. After a while, the boys got bored and left, still laughing and mocking Peter. He got back in his car feeling both proud of himself and angry at the same time. He knew he had taken a risk by confronting the bullies, but he also knew that he had to do something to protect his son. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. As he drove to work, Peter couldn't help thinking about his son. He wished he could take away his pain and make the bullies disappear. He knew he couldn't do that, but he also knew he had to find a way to help Jack. That evening, Peter sat down with his wife, and they talked about what they could do. They decided to go to the school principal and explain the situation. They wanted to make sure the school was aware of what was happening and that they were doing something to stop it. Peter's heart was heavy, but he knew he couldn't give up. He had to find a way to help his son and make things right. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to try. The next day, Peter decided to take matters into his own hands. He couldn't stand seeing his son suffer anymore. He knew he had to do something more to stop the bullies once and for all. He went to the school and asked to meet with the principal. When he explained the situation, the principal was sympathetic, but said that there wasn't much they could do unless they caught the bullies in the act. Peter knew he couldn't wait for that to happen. He had to take action himself. He started to do some research on the internet looking for ways to stop bullying. He found some helpful tips and decided to put them into practice. The next day, when he saw the bullies mocking Jack, he walked up to them and calmly asked them to stop. He told them that their behavior was hurtful and unacceptable and that they should be ashamed of themselves. The boys were taken aback by Peter's assertiveness. They had never seen him like this before. They started to back away, looking nervous. Peter stood his ground, refusing to let them intimidate him. He then went to Jack's classroom and talked to his teacher. He explained the situation and asked if they could have a class discussion about bullying. The teacher agreed, and Peter was able to talk to Jack's classmates about the harm that bullying can cause. Peter knew that this was only a small step, but he hoped that it would make a difference. He continued to monitor the situation and talk to the bullies whenever he saw them. He also made sure to check in with Jack every day to see how he was doing and to offer support. The bullies didn't like Peter's interference, but they also knew that he wasn't going to give up. They started to back off, realizing that they couldn't get away with their behavior anymore. Peter felt a sense of relief and satisfaction that he had taken action to protect his son. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was prepared to face it head-on. One day, as Peter was driving home from work, he saw the bullies standing on the side of the road. He pulled over and got out of his car, expecting the worst, but instead of mocking him, the boys looked at him with respect. One of them spoke up, saying that they had learned a lot from Peter's actions. They had realized that bullying wasn't cool and that it only caused pain and hurt. They apologized for their behavior and promised to stop. Peter was amazed. He had never expected this kind of response. He thanked the boys and got back in his car, feeling both proud and relieved. When he got home, Jack was waiting for him. He ran up and hugged his father, thanking him for all he had done. Peter felt tears welling up in his eyes. He had never felt so proud of his son, and he knew that he had done the right thing. From that day on, Jack was no longer bullied. He made new friends and started to enjoy school again. Peter felt a sense of joy and relief knowing that he had made a difference. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was prepared to face it head-on. As the days passed, Jack continued to attend his self-defense classes, honing his skills and building his confidence. He no longer dreaded going to school, knowing that he was no longer a victim of bullying. One day as Jack was walking home from school, he noticed a new student being bullied by a group of kids. Jack recognized the signs of bullying and knew that he had to act. He walked up to the group and stood up for the new student using the skills he had learned in his self-defense classes. The bullies were shocked to see Jack standing up to them, and they quickly backed off. The new student thanked Jack for his help and introduced himself as Max. Jack and Max quickly became friends, bonding over their shared love of video games and sports. Peter was happy to see his son making new friends and standing up for what was right. He knew that Jack had come a long way since the days when he was being bullied by the same group of kids. He felt grateful for the self-defense classes that had given Jack the tools he needed to overcome the bullying and build his confidence. The happy ending came at the end of the school year when Jack received an award for his outstanding performance in his self-defense classes. Peter was proud of his son and beamed with joy as Jack received the award on stage. The bullies who had once tormented Jack and made his life miserable were now distant memories. Jack had moved on and had become a stronger person because of the experience. He had learned to stand up for himself and others, to be confident and assertive, and to never back down in the face of adversity. Peter felt grateful for the self-defense classes that had taught his son these valuable life skills. He knew that they had not only helped Jack overcome the bullying but had also prepared him for other challenges in the future. As the summer approached, Jack and Max made plans to spend their time exploring new places and having fun. Peter watched as his son ran down the street laughing and shouting with his friend. He felt a sense of peace and contentment knowing that his son was happy and safe. The experience had brought the father and son closer together, and Peter knew that they would always be there for each other. He felt grateful for the lessons that he had learned through his son's experience, and he knew that they would stay with him for the rest of his life. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe. See you next time.